You're staring at a spreadsheet that technically doesn't exist. 32 shell companies, 7 offshore banks, 3 governments that would arrest you on sight if they knew what you were doing right now, and 1 number blinking in red at the bottom of the ledger. $417 million? Unaccounted? Your phone vibrates. You don't need to check who it is. There's only one person who calls when numbers stop making sense. The boss doesn't care about spreadsheets, but he cares very much when money disappears. And right now, the money is disappearing. You take a slow breath. Because the truth is, you built this system, which means if it's collapsing on top of you. Ambition. You weren't always the cartel's accountant. Once upon a time, you were just another ambitious finance graduate with a clean suit, student debt, and a brain wired for numbers. Your professors said you were brilliant. Your internship said you were expendable. $52,000 a year to audit companies that hid millions in tax loopholes. You remember the first time you realized something? The criminals weren't the ones laundering money. The criminals were the ones pretending the system was clean. Corporations moved billions through offshore entities. Banks buried transactions under layers of compliance theater. Politicians called it international finance. You called it hypocrisy. So when a client asked a simple question, how would someone hide $10 million? You didn't hesitate. You explained. Hypothetically, he listened carefully. Then he asked the second question. How much would you charge to do it for real? 3 months later, you quit your job. 6 months later, you built your first laundering structure. A restaurant chain that never served food. A logistics company that never shipped packages. A consulting firm that never had clients. Money went in dirty. Money came out clean. You told yourself it was just math. Just transactions. Just numbers. You didn't ask where the money came from. Because numbers don't bleed. At least that's what you believe then. Compromise. Your first cartel meeting happens in a house that looks too ordinary to be dangerous. White walls. Quiet neighborhood. Kids riding bicycles down the street. Inside the kitchen sits a man worth $500 million in cocaine profits. He doesn't look like a kingpin. He looks like someone's uncle. He pours you coffee, then he slides a folder across the table. Inside are bank statements, wire transfers, and a simple sentence. We need the money to disappear. You flip through the papers. $48 million. Unstructured cash. Impossible to move legally. But not impossible. Not for you. You explain the plan calmly. Layering. Smurf accounts. Trade-based laundering through import businesses. Crypto bridges. Offshore holding companies in 3 jurisdictions. He listens without interrupting. Then he smiles. Not impressed. Satisfied. Like a mechanic hearing an engine start perfectly. That day you become something very few people ever become. Indispensable. Not a soldier. Not a smuggler. Not a killer. Something far more valuable. The man who makes illegal money legal. The architect of invisibility. Within 2 years, your operation launders over $1 billion. Your lifestyle upgrades quietly. Luxury apartment. Swiss watches. Private banking. But the real reward isn't the money. It's the power. Things no one else knows. Which politician is secretly funded? Which bank manager approves the wires? Which shipping company falsifies invoices? You start seeing the world differently. Not as countries and laws, but as a giant financial maze. And you're the only one who understands the map. Power, eventually the cartel stops calling you the accountant. They start calling you something else. The firewall. Because you sit between the violence and the money. The soldiers move drugs. But you move empires. When $200 million needs to vanish overnight, they call you. When a government freezes accounts, you unlock new ones. When authorities track transactions, you reroute the river. You design a laundering network so complex that even banks struggle to follow it, layer upon layer. Shell companies owning other shell companies. Transactions bouncing across continents. By the time investigators trace $1, it's already 10 steps ahead. You're proud of it because it's not just crime, it's engineering. And the boss trusts you more than almost anyone. You don't carry a gun, you don't need one. Your protection is simple. If you disappear, so does the money. And everyone in the organization understands that. But power changes people, especially quiet power. You begin making decisions that aren't strictly accounting. Which banks to trust, which partners to cut off, which investments to move money into. Suddenly, you're not just laundering profit, you're steering it. Real estate, crypto funds, shipping companies, political donations, entire industries start moving because you move money into them. You're no longer hiding wealth, you're directing it. And that's when the line disappears. The line between accountant and kingmaker. Overreach, it starts with a small decision. A rounding error. $2 million sitting in a temporary holding account. Money that technically belongs to the cartel. Money no one is watching closely. You move it into a private investment. Just temporarily. A quick return. Then you'll put it back. No one will notice. Except the investment works. 2 million becomes 4. Then 8, you feel something new. Not fear. Opportunity. You start doing it again. Small diversions. Tiny percentages. Fractions hidden inside billions. Your systems are so complicated no one could ever spot it. You're the one who built the maze. Who could possibly catch you? Within a year, you've quietly skimmed nearly $60 million. Untouchable money. Hidden in private wallets and silent partnerships. You tell yourself it's justified. You built the machine. You deserve a cut. But greed is never satisfied with enough. It wants proof. Proof you're smarter than everyone else, so you go bigger. One transfer. $80 million redirected through a fake infrastructure investment. You run the numbers. Perfect. Untraceable, invisible, except for one problem. The cartel isn't losing money. But the boss notices something strange. Profit margins shrinking. Shipments generating less return. Not enough to panic, but enough to ask questions, and questions are dangerous. Especially when the only person who understands the money is you. Downfall, the phone call comes at midnight. The boss wants to see you. Immediately. No explanation. You drive to the same quiet house where this all started. White walls. Silent street. Kids' bicycles gone. Inside the kitchen, the boss sits at the same table. But there's no coffee tonight. Just a laptop. And a man you've never seen before. Older, thin glasses. Government posture. Your stomach tightens. The boss speaks calmly. This man understands numbers. You sit down slowly. The stranger rotates the laptop. Transaction graphs. Account flows. Shell structures. Your structures. Then he zooms into one specific pattern. Your pattern. The stranger speaks for the first time. Very impressive system. Pause. Except for this. A red line appears. The $18 million transfer. Your transfer. You feel something collapse in your chest. Because you realize two things instantly. First, someone finally followed the maze. Second, you didn't build the only brain capable of understanding it. The stranger closes the laptop. Then he says the worst possible sentence. You're not the only accountant. The boss studies your face quietly. No anger, no shouting. Just disappointment. Like a CEO discovering embezzlement from his CFO. You try to explain temporary transfer, investment strategy, risk diversification. But even as you speak, you hear how ridiculous it sounds. The boss interrupts softly. You stole. You open your mouth. Then stop, because numbers don't lie. And tonight, your numbers betrayed you. The boss stands, walks toward the window. For a moment, you think about running. But you know something everyone else in this room knows too. You're not a soldier. You're not a fighter. You're an accountant. And accountants survive on trust. The moment trust disappears, so do they. He turns back to you. And the worst part isn't what he says. It's how calm he sounds. You built a beautiful system. A pause. Now someone else will run it. The men behind you move. And for the first time in 10 years, you realize something terrifying. You spent your entire career making money invisible, but tonight, you're the one disappearing.